space was never truly silent. Lieutenant Sarah Whitfield had learned that the first time she set foot aboard a warship. Space hummed. The decks vibrated under the constant pulse of reactors. Even the void outside was alive with radiation, with the hiss of micrometeorites striking the hull, with the faint, ever-present chatter of sensors mapping the universe. But tonight, the void screamed. She stood on the forward observation deck of the USS Monitor, a steel spear gliding in high orbit above Earth, and watched as the sky tore itself apart. At first, the crew thought it was a meteor shower. Streams of glowing debris burned across the black, turning night into a glittering, deadly firestorm. But as the Monitor's sensors calibrated, the truth came into focus: at twisted hulls, shattered engines, alien lettering scorched into molten plates. Not meteors. Not space junk. Wreckage. And not just any wreckage. Confirmed, Ensign Tyler Rhodes called from the sensor pit, his voice shaking as he read the returns. Zolder hull composites. Dominion battleship fragments. Multiple classes. Sarah's stomach dropped. The Zolder Dominion was the most feared power in the galaxy. Their fleet was vast, ancient, and undefeated. To see even one of their ships destroyed was unheard of. To see dozens, hundreds, burning up in Earth's sky? Something had shattered them. Captain Marcus Kane stepped onto the deck, the door hissing shut behind him. His presence was like gravity, tall, broad-shouldered, a man whose voice could cut through even the thickest tension. Status, he barked. Still coming in, sir, Tyler said, sweat beading his forehead as he worked. The debris field extends at least 3 AUs back. Whatever engagement this was, it wasn't small. Sarah turned toward the captain, her jaw tight. Sir, who could do this to the Dominion? No one fights them and lives. Marcus didn't answer right away. His gray eyes were locked on the viewport, watching as a piece of shattered alien hull tumbled lazily past. Then, softly, we're about to find out. The warning came minutes later. Multiple warp signatures. Tyler's voice broke into a shout. Fast movers, inbound vector straight for Earth. Sarah's pulse spiked. If the Dominion's fleet had been mauled somewhere out in the void, and survivors were heading here. Sound general quarters, Marcus ordered. The Monitor's klaxons wailed, a bone-deep sound that shook every corridor. Red lights strobed overhead. Crew members sprinted through the ship's arteries, strapping into stations, sealing blast doors. The quiet hum of space was replaced by the ship's rising heartbeat as weapons systems powered up. Sarah slid into her tactical station, hands flying over the console. Point defense grid online. Rail batteries charging. Bring us to intercept vector, Marcus said calmly. If they're coming for Earth, they go through us first. Sarah swallowed hard. The Monitor was a good ship, one of the finest in the Earth fleet. But against the Dominion? Against the war machine that had brought entire civilizations to their knees? This was suicide. They arrived in force. The first of the Dominion ships ripped out of warp like spears of light, snapping into existence with impossible precision. Then came more. And more. Within minutes, the black above Earth was filled with them, wedge-shaped destroyers, cruisers, carriers bristling with weapons. Thousands of ships, fanning out in perfect formation. It was beautiful, in the way a storm is beautiful when you know it's going to hit your home. A transmission cut across every frequency at once, translated into every human tongue. Kneel, primitives. Surrender your world, or we will take it from your corpses. The words echoed through the Monitor's bridge like a curse. Sarah's hands curled into fists. This was it, the nightmare humanity had always known was coming. The Dominion had crushed world after world. Now it was Earth's turn. And yet, there was no reply from Earth Command. No transmission of surrender. Instead, something strange happened. A low vibration rolled through the void, not through the Monitor, but through space itself, as though something massive was waking up at the edge of the system. Sarah frowned, checking her displays. I'm picking up distortions? Then the distortions bloomed into something real. At the edge of the solar system, space folded open. One by one, ships emerged, but not the fragile, regulated frigates humanity had been allowed to build under Dominion oversight. These were different. They were enormous. Sharp. Black-hulled, with heat shimmers dancing along their armored spines. Their drives burned blue-white as they formed up in perfect silence. "What the hell?" Tyler breathed. "Those aren't in any registry. They're not even in the fleet schematics." Sarah stared. "They're ours. Look at the IFF codes, they're broadcasting soul signatures." Marcus Kane's lips curled into the ghost of a smile. "Because they were never meant to be in the registry," he said quietly. "Those are Ort-class warships." Sarah's head whipped toward him. "Ort-class? I thought that was a myth." "Not a myth," Marcus said, voice like iron. "A contingency." The Dominion hailed again, this time with the faintest trace of irritation. "Do you think this paltry fleet will save you? We are the Dominion. We are eternal." For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Then the Ort fleet opened fire. The sky became fire. Railguns spat hypervelocity slugs that sliced through Dominion shields like they weren't even there. Particle lances carved glowing wounds into destroyers. Swarms of autonomous drones erupted from launch bays, darting like angry hornets into the enemy formation. Sarah braced herself as the Monitor's own guns joined the symphony. The recoil of the main batteries vibrated through her bones, each shot like the punch of a god. Dominion ships exploded one by one, their perfect formation breaking apart under the relentless human assault. "This is impossible," Tyler whispered, watching the sensor feed. "We're winning." Sarah's heart pounded as another alien cruiser blossomed into a silent fireball. For the first time in her life, she saw fear not on human faces, but on the Dominions. The galaxy's most feared fleet had just met a force it didn't understand. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the Dominion was bleeding. By the time the last enemy ship jumped out of the system, leaving only burning wreckage behind, Sarah could barely breathe. She turned to Marcus. "Sir, what did we just start?" Marcus didn't look at her. His eyes stayed locked on the stars, cold and steady. "We didn't start anything, Lieutenant," he said quietly. "We just answered." And somewhere, far out in the dark, Sarah swore she could feel the galaxy holding its breath. The battle was over in 37 minutes. 37 minutes to break the unbreakable. 37 minutes for the Zolder Dominion's forward fleet, the pride of their war machine, to scatter like leaves in a storm. Lieutenant Sarah Whitfield stood on the Monitor's bridge, her knuckles white as she gripped the back of her chair. The tactical display before her looked unreal, a graveyard of wrecked ships drifting in the black, lit by the pale glow of distant sunlight. Human rail slugs had punched holes clean through alien hulls. Entire Dominion cruisers spun lifeless, gutted and cold. The galaxy's most feared fleet, beaten. And yet, the bridge was silent. Captain Marcus Kane stood at the center of it all, his hands clasped behind his back, his face unreadable. "Enemy survivors have gone to warp," Ensign Tyler Rhodes reported quietly. "No pursuit signatures. Looks like they're running." "Good," Marcus said flatly. "Let them run." Sarah turned toward him. "Sir, with respect, we just beat them. We should be celebrating." Marcus finally looked at her, and in his gray eyes she saw no triumph, no satisfaction, only the weight of something larger. "This was their vanguard, Lieutenant," he said. "They'll be back. And next time, they won't underestimate us." His words hung in the air like a sentence. Word spread across the galaxy in hours. Every relay, every listening post, every smuggler network buzzed with the same whisper. "The humans have a hidden fleet. The humans just bloodied the Dominion. The humans are going to start a war that will burn us all." But they were wrong. The war hadn't started tonight. It had simply stepped out of the shadows. 3 days later, the sky over Jupiter burned. Sarah had barely slept, barely eaten. The crew of the Monitor was running on adrenaline and stimulants, waiting for the next blow to fall. And when it came, it was bigger than anything she had ever imagined. Jump signatures. Tyler's voice cracked as alarms flared. Multiple, no, massive incoming fleet. The sensor display bloomed red. One by one, the Dominion ships emerged from warp, filling the darkness with their terrible presence. Sarah's breath caught. This wasn't a task force. This wasn't even a single battle group. This was everything. Tens of thousands of warships. Dreadnoughts the size of mountains. Carrier platforms bristling with planet-killer weapons. Siege stations deployed into orbit like fangs. They brought the whole armada, Sarah whispered. They want to end this in one strike, Marcus said calmly, as if he had expected this all along. He turned to communications. Signal Alpha. Now. Moments later, space rippled again. From the cold dark at the edge of the system, humanity's secret strength arrived. Hundreds of warships unfolded from warp, not just the Oort fleet's destroyers and cruisers, but something new. Massive silhouettes loomed into view, each more than a kilometer long, their hulls glowing with the heat of power cores winding up. Sarah's eyes widened. Those can't be real. They're real, Marcus said, his voice grim. War Arcs. Humanity's last insurance policy. Sarah tore her gaze from the viewport. You mean we've been building these in secret? For decades? Marcus nodded. Ever since first contact. The Dominion thought we were playing catch-up. Thought we were obeying their rules. But we were preparing for this. Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine. For years, humanity had been seen as a young race, still finding its place among the stars, weak, naive, no real threat. And yet, here they stood, revealing teeth no one had ever suspected. The Dominion hailed them again, their voice sharpened with fury. You cannot hope to stand against us. Lay down your arms and live. Resist, and be erased from history. Marcus Kane's reply was ice. History is watching. Let's give it something worth remembering. The Dominion fired first. A storm of plasma lances and mass drivers turned space into a maelstrom of energy. Gigantic beams tore across the void, vaporizing anything in their path. But humanity had prepared for this moment for a century. The Oort fleet's shields flared, holding steady under the first barrage. Arcs returned fire with weapons the galaxy had never seen before, particle singularity cannons that cracked Dominion shields in one strike, magnetic launchers that hurled city-sized projectiles at relativistic speeds. Sarah's hands danced over her console, calling firing solutions, watching as the monitor's railguns spoke with thunder. The recoil shook her entire body, every shot punching through an enemy destroyer's flank. Enemy flanking on Vector 4. Tyler shouted. Deploy hunters. Marcus ordered. From the shadows of the fleet, small, angular corvettes slipped free, their stealth drives cold and silent. They darted around the Dominion's flank like wolves, ripping into their formation with precision torpedoes. The Dominion formation began to fracture. They're trying to regroup. Sarah shouted over the rising din. Press the line. Marcus roared. Hours passed in fire and fury. The battle became a dance of annihilation, ships weaving and dying, debris fields multiplying, stars hidden by the glow of reactor breaches. Sarah felt time lose meaning as she fought. Her throat was raw from shouting orders. Her hands shook from adrenaline as she locked firing solutions and watched alien hulls split apart under her guns. And slowly, impossibly, the tide turned. By the 6th hour, the Dominion line was collapsing. Their dreadnoughts, once symbols of invincibility, were retreating under relentless human pursuit. Sarah's console pinged. They're falling back. I think they're breaking. A ragged cheer went up across the bridge, but Marcus didn't smile. Don't let them regroup, he said, his voice like steel. This isn't over until they can't come back. Sarah turned, stunned. Sir, we've driven them off. Are you saying? Yes, Marcus said. We're taking the fight to them. Within hours, the combined human fleet was on the move. Sarah stood by the viewport as the stars blurred into streaks of light. For the first time in human history, they weren't fleeing. They were hunting. The stars had never felt so quiet. Lieutenant Sarah Whitfield stood on the bridge of the monitor, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The human fleet stretched across the void, a glittering wall of warships, each one still scarred from the Battle of Jupiter but very much alive. Ahead lay the Dominion's heart. Their capital system glowed on the display, a blue-white star circled by 3 lush worlds, bristling with defensive platforms and shipyards. Thousands of surviving Dominion vessels hung in orbit, forming a steel halo around their homeworld. Sarah swallowed hard. She had seen battles, had seen ships die, but this was different. This was the endgame. Captain Marcus Kane stood at the center of the bridge, silent as stone. He hadn't left the command deck in almost 30 hours. "Fleet status?" he asked quietly. "All ships in position," Ensign Tyler Rhodes replied. His voice was hoarse, his eyes bloodshot. "Ort fleet is holding on vectors 1 through 4. War arcs reporting full power. We're as ready as we'll ever be." Sarah's hand hovered over her console, hesitating. "Sir, if we fire on their capital, there's no going back. This could wipe out billions." Marcus turned toward her, his gray eyes sharp. "And if we don't, Lieutenant? They'll come back. They'll rebuild. And next time, it won't just be our fleet they burn, it'll be Earth." The weight of his words settled like lead in the air. This wasn't just a strike. This was an execution. A transmission cut across every channel. The Dominion's High Chancellor appeared in a wash of holographic light, a towering figure with silver armor and eyes like molten gold. His voice was a thunderclap that filled the bridge. "Humans! You have proven unexpectedly capable. But your defiance ends here. If you fire upon our homeworld, you will doom your own species. The galaxy will unite against you." Marcus stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "You think we're afraid of the galaxy's opinion?" His voice was ice. "You brought war to our door. You burned our skies and demanded our submission. We don't bow. Not now. Not ever." The Chancellor's golden eyes narrowed. "If you continue, you will erase us." Marcus leaned over the comms console. "No. We will end you." And with that, he cut the transmission. The order rippled across the human fleet. "Targets locked," Sarah said, her voice tight. "War arcs report ready," Tyler added. Marcus gave a single, steady nod. "Commence fire." The void erupted. The war arcs unleashed their full fury, super lasers that split the dark like suns being born, rail slugs the size of skyscrapers that crossed the system in seconds, magnetic accelerators tearing open space with the force of their launch. Dominion defenses blazed to life. Planetary shields flared, orbitals fired back, dreadnoughts surged forward in a desperate last stand. The battle became a storm of light and death. Sarah felt every shot in her bones, every impact against the monitor's shields rattling her teeth. She called out firing solutions, her hands moving faster than thought, targeting key enemy command ships and watching them bloom into fireballs. "Left flank is holding," Tyler shouted, sweat running down his face. "Ort fleet is pushing them back. Keep the pressure on," Marcus barked. Hours passed in a haze of fire and metal. The Dominion fought like a cornered beast, but humanity's fleet was relentless, pressing forward meter by meter until their guns were within range of the planet itself. And then the moment came. "Planetary shield collapsing," Sarah reported, her voice almost a whisper. "They're open." Marcus didn't hesitate. "War arcs fire on primary military installations only. Leave the civilian population centers intact." Sarah blinked in surprise but didn't question it. This wasn't extermination. This was conquest, and Marcus wanted the Dominion to remember exactly what humanity had spared. The arcs fired again. This time their beams lanced down to the surface, vaporizing shipyards, power grids, orbital cannons. One by one, the Dominion's war machine went dark. And then, silence. The last transmission came not from the Chancellor, but from a weary-looking Dominion admiral, his face drawn and pale. "We surrender." The words echoed across the bridge. Tyler let out a slow breath, almost disbelieving. Did we just win? Sarah couldn't speak. Her throat was too tight. She just stared at the display as one by one Dominion ships powered down, their weapons going cold. Marcus stood still for a long moment. Then he nodded. Signal all ships. Cease fire. Hours later, Sarah stood in the quiet of the observation deck. Below her, the Dominion capital world turned peacefully, no longer shielded, its cities glowing softly in the dark. For centuries, this system had been the center of fear in the galaxy. And now, it was under human control. She heard footsteps behind her. Marcus stepped into view, looking as exhausted as she felt. You did good work today, Lieutenant, he said quietly. Sarah turned toward him. Sir, we just changed everything. The galaxy isn't going to forget this. Marcus looked out at the stars, his expression calm but hard. That's the point, he said. They need to remember. They need to know that humanity doesn't kneel. Not to them, not to anyone. Sarah followed his gaze, and for the first time in days, she felt something like hope. This wasn't just the end of a war. This was the beginning of something new. And somewhere, in the farthest corners of the galaxy, she knew the other powers were watching and wondering what kind of species would dare to stand against the Dominion and win. The answer was simple. The kind that would fight until the stars themselves burned out. As the fleet turned for home, Sarah allowed herself one last look at the quiet planet below. The galaxy had thought humanity a backwater race, a footnote in history. But tonight, humanity had written its name across the stars in fire. And the stars would never forget it.